Howdy, y'all, and welcome back to I Am Abled Because I Am is Able. So this video is a little bit harder for me to talk about. It's taken me a couple tries to get it out. And I know I've been talking about a lot more fun stuff the last few videos just to kind of have a breather for a little bit. But I wanted to share with you one thing that has helped me the most through the loss of my dear friend. So here we go. I had a lot of people try to comfort me, telling me, she's in a better place. She's with her God in glory, and she's with her husband, and she's with her son, and she's happier now. And all of those things were nice to hear. But the problem was I wasn't grieving for her. For once, I actually had that same peace too. I wasn't grieving the fact that she was sad, or that she had a terrible passing, and that she, whatever, I don't know. Because those are all things that are legitimate things to comfort someone in a certain way. And it does help some people to know that they didn't suffer at the end. She went quickly. She just went to sleep and didn't wake up. It's comforting. There are so many things that should have been comforting, and they were. But the problem was I wasn't grieving for her. I was grieving for me. I was grieving for her sister. I was grieving for her nieces, and I was grieving for her sister and her brother, and for the kids at the library that she won't get to read to anymore, and for the worship team that she won't get to sing for anymore, and everybody in her life that she's made such a big impact for. I've been grieving for all of us left behind that won't get to have that beautiful presence in our life anymore. I was grieving for that. And that was what was so hard for me to express, because I knew every time somebody said that, and if you're one of those people, I apologize if this comes out harshly, every time somebody said that, I know in my heart, and I knew in my heart, they meant it in the best way. And they meant it in the most comforting way. But it wasn't comforting, because I wasn't grieving for her. Not for her sake. I was grieving for me, for all of us. And in that time, for about 2 days, I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop being angry. I couldn't stop being sad. I couldn't stop just hurting and being so tired and just not knowing what to say. And I've still had some of those episodes since this point, but this is what really started me to come out of that fog. And I hope it helps somebody else out there, because it really helped me. And that is the story of Lazarus. Now, I grew up hearing the story of Lazarus, so this shouldn't have been new news to me. But there's this verse that a lot of people like to quote, and it's the shortest verse in the Bible. It's, Jesus wept. That's it. Now, yes, man numbered the different verses, so I don't know if God meant the weight of it that we put on it, but for me, it was huge, because I've heard that verse a lot in my life, and it has helped me a lot through the years, but this time I looked at it through fresh eyes. I decided to go back and look at the story of Lazarus for the first time in over a decade, probably. Let's face it, there are a whole lot of verses in the Bible to read, so it's not uncommon for it to be over a decade before you read a verse again. And so I read through that chapter again and looked at the story of Lazarus and his Jesus raising him from the dead. Yes, Jesus, spoiler alert, raised Lazarus from the dead. So here's what happened in very, very brief. Okay, so here we are. Jesus' friend Lazarus has died. Jesus goes from out of town and goes to this town to be with the people, the mourners of Lazarus. There's more backstory, so I encourage you to read the entire thing. It's just one chapter if you want to be brief about it, but it's just too much for my head right now. So he goes to this town with threats of his life if he goes there, but he wants to be there for his friends that are the sisters of Lazarus. And he goes there, and people are grieving the loss of Lazarus. And Jesus had corrected a lot of other things throughout this chapter of how people are talking about Lazarus and his illness and his death. But this one point, Jesus is met by these mourners, And they are so mad that Christ wasn't there to stop him from dying. And he should have been there to pray over him. This is their mourning logic, their grief logic. And instead of correcting them, which you see throughout the earlier parts of this verse, Christ corrects a lot. Instead of correcting them and saying, I'm here now, stop, your whining or anything like that, Christ, it says his heart was heavy and he grieved. Jesus wept. Like, seriously. Jesus didn't stop them and say, you don't have to worry, I'm going to raise this guy from the dead. Jesus knew exactly where Lazarus was going to be going. He knew that he was already probably in eternity at this point, if we are to understand the interpretation of the word correctly. He was already going to be with the Heavenly Father. He was already at peace. And yet all these people are grieving. And he could have just said, today he's already with my Father, don't even worry about it. Stop your crying, I'll raise him from the dead for you. He already knew he was going to raise him from the dead. He already knew that Lazarus was at peace. And yet, Jesus wept. That was huge. When I understood that, or when I read that, I should say at least, and that hit me like that, it was really, really comforting to think that even though Christ knows all of those things that should bring us comfort as Christians, knowing that they're in a better place, knowing that they have new bodies and that all will be worked out okay and that Christ has our back and all this stuff, he didn't correct their grieving, but rather his heart was grieved for them. And he wept with them. And to me, that spoke volumes. Because I was so guilty over all my thoughts of how much I missed Pat, how much my friends missed her, how much her family missed her, how much the kids are going to miss her. And I'm like, why, God, why am I so feeling guilty? I mean, I should be happy for her, and yet I can't feel an ounce of joy for her because I'm just so sad. And it was like in that moment, Christ wept with me. Christ let me weep and just feel. Without feeling all those extra things on top of it, but just feel. And maybe you're going through a time like that right now. And you think, all of these extra things that I should know about God should mean that I shouldn't be sad or upset by this or whatever it is. Jesus feels you. Christ, God, he loves you and he wants to be there for you and comfort you in your mourning and not just stop you from mourning. We are to rejoice with those who rejoice, yes, but we're also to mourn with those who mourn. And we are, as a church, rarely talking about the second half of that and how to do that properly. And I think that's a dire shame in our church society. We can't just put a Band-Aid on it and say, it's fine, stop your crying, and, pick it up. Yes, Christ is joy. Yes, joy comes in the morning, and I don't think we're supposed to sit in our wallowing, but it's a different kind of joy. And that's a lot longer than I can explain in a video here, but it does allow for mourning. God allows for mourning, Christ allows for mourning, and he wants to be there with us in those moments. So if you're feeling like everybody is pressuring you to just get over it, maybe this video is for you right now. Not to wallow in it, but that Christ is there for you in it. And that it's okay. It's okay to mourn. It's okay to be confused. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be a little scared even sometimes. Maybe, I think, anyways. And I think there are parts of Scripture to back that up. But don't sit in it. Tell somebody. Reach out to someone. Your pastor, a friend at church, a family member that you trust. But reach out and cry. It's okay to cry. Even Christ cried. Okay, I don't have any questions for you on that because frankly, I think that's going to just change the whole idea of this video and I need to go feed my dog. But I just felt like this was a really important video to make. And I hope that this reaches anybody who needs to reach it. Feel free to share it. This is a public video. But please be respectful in any comments below because people may be grieving and if you need to reach out in this video, please feel like it's a safe place, but do it with respect and love. I thank you for watching this far. If you have, much blessings and love to you all. God bless. Bye.